Jon Jones is like,
Right.
yeah, right, Joe? He said, Jon Jones is like, ooh, I got him. Fish on the line, Jill. You know when you throw it, when you cast, you just hope to catch something. A little fish, but when you catch that big mouth bass, you start celebrating. Jones probably feels right now he's got that big mouth bass.
What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Chael, he's Daniel, and partner, let me start you with this. And still, apparently doesn't necessarily mean you won. There's another way to hold on to that belt.
Yes, there is. Chael, today's episode I don't know how you get through Saturday night without making a new enemy. I remember when Alex Pereira had a hit out on you, he had a hit out on you, and now Tom Aspinall is about to have a hit out on you too, because Saturday night, Tom Aspinall remained the heavyweight champion, but he got poked in the eye. Now, there was no long-term damage, at least that's the initial report that we are getting. Tom will then see specialists and everything when he gets back to England, but Chael, on Saturday night, you're sitting with Brendan Fitzgerald and Anthony Smith, and this is what you had to say.
Being poked in the eye is illegal, Brendan, but to fight with one eye is very common. The opponent's trying to hit your eye. He's trying to bust up and make your nose bleed. So that part of it does have question for guys like Anthony and I. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to show grace. But in all fairness, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you got to fight with one eye at times. There was something about the way that the story was being told, the way that it was being held on the eye and never removed. I mean, don't forget, this cloth that he had in his eye contained an ice cube. This wasn't some kind of a magic cloth that was going to cure a cornea or something that was wrong with your eye or even take swelling away. It contained an ice cube. And I've checked out of fights before. Yeah. I know what it looks like, and I knew that he was done. He said, I got poked in the eye, I can't see. If you got poked in the eye and you're injured, we have a totally different conversation. If you get poked in the eye and you can't see, generally in our sport, that's just something you've got to push through.
Chael, you didn't pull no punches. You didn't pull no punches on what you thought about Tom Aspinall. So now you've had a couple days to think about it. My question to you becomes, do you double down, Chael P, or do you walk it back after you thought about it? You're talking about the heavyweight champ, Chael. Do you walk it back, or do you stick firm with the words that you spoke on Saturday night?
Well, sweet of you to give me the opportunity, but I've got to tell you, when that fight was over, I was mad. I'm still mad. As a fan, I'm bothered. Now, in fairness, I will admit to you, I don't know where that energy should go. Tom did nothing wrong. So it seems as though I shouldn't blame Tom, right? He's out there doing his fight. Something against the rules happens to Tom. I'm not mad at Cyril in the least, and Cyril is the one that caused this entire thing. So perhaps I do need to relook at this. And then Herzog. Herzog is one of the great referees, and I don't second guess him. But Daniel, we got two things that we don't do to each other. You don't poke him in the eyes, and you don't bite him. When one of those things are violated, it seems to me that no contest is a very weak thing out. If somebody cheated, you disqualify him. If somebody needs to push through something, you don't give them the option. And I really don't blame the referee or the call here, but we've seen this many times. This was not just a poke. This was a double poke. And whether you think that was unintentional or not, at some point it doesn't matter anymore. It's not one, it was two done at once. I don't agree with no contest. I am still angry at no contest. I think very much that fight could have continued. I think if we're being fair, that fight was a lot harder than people thought that it was going to be. And there was an opportunity to regroup with your belt, try again. All of those things happened, and I don't apologize for saying any of them, just to be really clear.
Okay. So here's my thoughts, right? It's been a couple of days. I sat 15 hours flying back, thinking about what I had witnessed the night before. One, Tom Aspinall, I like a lot. I think he could be a great heavyweight champion. I don't know how Tom didn't recognize that there's one statement you cannot say. Only one. There's only one thing you absolutely cannot say inside of a fight, and that's I can't see. Like, once you say I can't see, there's no coming back from it. Like, the fight is over. And we were sitting there, and obviously, when you're doing the broadcast, you're kind of speculating as to what's going to happen next. But there was a feeling inside of my gut that told me I knew what was going to happen because he murmured those words. You cannot say I can't see. The moment you say that, everybody starts to prepare for the end of the fight. That's just the God honest truth. So Jason Herzog is giving him many opportunities. The ringside physician came in. The ringside physician says there's no damage to the eye, da-da-da-da-da-da. But he said he can't see. He goes, I told him that there's no damage, but he said he continues to say he can't see, so I don't want to keep talking to him because I think the ringside physician didn't want to continue to talk to him, Joe, because it would have felt like he was guiding him into fighting when that's not his job. Herzog gave him all the opportunities in the world, and he couldn't. To Tom's defense, bro, he got poked in the eye really bad. He got poked in the eye really bad. For me, though, the deep eye poke was on the left eye. The scratch down was on the right eye. So now we get to learn what's more damaging, right? What's more damaging? So many people this week goes, you got poked by Stipe and you kept fighting. Well, I wasn't the heavyweight champion. I was still trying to get the belt back, and I knew that was the last time I would ever walk to an octagon. He's got more days ahead of him. So if you live to fight another day, it was like a couple weeks ago when DeRitta's corner threw in the towel. You fight another day. If you can't see, and you're the reigning defending champion, and you can't see, then you don't fight. You have too much to lose, Chael. And we always try to measure the smart decision versus the honorable decision. I thought Anthony Smith was very honorable when Jon Jones kneed him in the head on the ground. I thought Anthony Smith also was dumb. He should have took the win, went home as the champion, and then came back and collected some pay-per-view points in the rematch. That's just me. Honorable versus smart. I think Tom Aspinall just made the smart decision, and that ultimately upset a lot of people.
I agree with that too. I do think that was the right decision. I do think that was the smart decision. Tom's got one thing to do, which is to leave that arena with the title that he brought in to that arena. I will share this, Daniel. And the clip that you saw of Anthony and I, to give you a little context, what we had talked about just before that, the intent behind a guy was fouled, now let's turn to the guy to, do you want to continue? The intent there was in case a guy was injured accidentally, unintentionally, but that unintentional led to an injury. We only had one statement by Tom. I give Tom full grace. He doesn't have to be perfectly right in the moment, but that's what Anthony and I were forced to speak to, is the words he said. He said, I got poked in the eye and I can't see. That's a very big difference from I'm poked in the eye. My eye has been injured. I am terrified. I've got to get to the back and I've got to get medical personnel. I'm scared. It's a very different thing. And Anthony and I's point, I can just remember doing sparring rounds where Clayton was running the room and he would yell to the whole room, close your left eye. All right, 2 minutes later, open your left eye, close your right eye. Breathe through your nose, not your mouth. Breathe through your mouth, not your nose. This was in case your eye got swollen shut or in case your nose got broken and you couldn't breathe. It was something that we learned to push through. I'm not saying that Tom wimped out of a fight. I'm just speaking to that situation, to the referee even. He wasn't poked once, he was poked twice. This entire unintentional business, it's frustrating as a fan. I've never poked somebody in the eye, Daniel, never in practice, never in a wrestling match, never in a fight. I can't relate to it. I think that the guys that do it and do it consistently, I don't think that there's just an unintentional factor to it. And now it cost us, what could have been a really great match. Hey, you know what I'd love to break down with you, though, is what was happening in that match. We did get 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and those boys were fighting. They were fighting well.
Chill. For the record, I have poked a couple eyes in my life. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been poked. I didn't mean to poke him in the eye. I swear to God, I didn't.
I believe
you. Hey, I know I'm like the nature boy. I'm like, hey, John Smith, greatest wrestler of all time. I did something in the match, and I was like, I kind of feel like I cheated, coach. He goes, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And I was like, oh, well, if John Smith can say it, he won 6 Olympic medals and world titles, 6 world and Olympic medals. I'm listening to this dude. Anyhow, the fight ended in the way that it did. It sucked, right? The only question was, should it have been a disqualification? Tom said that he was warned twice prior to it happening. He felt like it should have been a disqualification, but chill. Boy, inside the fight, in the squared circle, between the numbers or between that line, whatever you want to call it, it was a fight. And Cyril Gane came to play, Chael. Cyril Gane did not come to run. Cyril Gane came to play, and it was very evident from the very start of the fight. Normally, Cyril Gane is a guy that bounces around on the outside. he took the space and went right at Aspinall. And what was surprising to me, or what was exciting to me, was Tom was bloodied up, nose was all jacked up, and he was smiling. It was almost like he liked the idea that someone was in there fighting him, because everybody else, Chael, have been hit with a simple 1-2. Bink, bink, they fall. Not Cyril Gane. And guess what? I don't care if it's in October, November, December, January, February. When they fight, if Cyril Gane fights like that, it's always a hard fight for Tom Aspinall, regardless of how good Tom Aspinall is, because Cyril Gane is that good.
So the morning of the fight, Tom grew his advantage with the bookers to a 3.5. He'd been riding kind of a 3-1 favorite. It actually grew just before the fight to 3.5. And I will just tell you, if they were to come out with a line right now, it's going to be much tighter, and there's a slight chance that Cyril would be a favorite for a little bit of time, and it's going to change, but that is really going to go off about dead even money. I think that we saw enough in that fight to realize these guys have something for each other. I think that Tom having that takedown stuffed gave Cyril tremendous confidence maybe going into the next fight. And then Cyril is a professional kickboxer. He was floating and he was moving very well. Tom threw that same 1-2 you're talking about that put 6 other men down. But Cyril was able to just take a little bit off it. He was able to just block and roll at the right time and return. He looked like a very seasoned stand-up fighter. I got to give Cyril that credit. There's some other people that said, hey, Tom was beating him up to that point. Well, maybe. But Tom was also starting to open his mouth. He was starting to huff and puff a little harder than he had in the past. I think Cyril got Tom's respect. And I think when we do see that fight, both of these guys are likely to look different.
Cyril Gane is good. Tom Aspinall recognized that before the fight. Even when we sat down for an interview, he told me, he goes, I don't understand how so many people, the media, the talking heads and pundits, the bettors and odds makers, I don't understand how they are overlooking Cyril Gane to this degree. These are Tom Aspinall's words. They're wrong. At times, Chael, when we fight people, especially when you're a big favorite, I was lucky enough in my career to enter fights. Title fights are regular as big favorites. With Dan Henderson, I was a big favorite. Obviously, Volkan Ozdemir and a couple of those other guys, I was big favorites. Every time I spoke to how dangerous they were, with the idea and the truth in my mind that they weren't. And it just so happened to work out that way. But imagine if it didn't, Chael. Imagine if it got harder. So I don't know if Tom was putting on that he respected Cyril so much, but if he was trying to sell the fight and put on that this guy was a real opponent, there won't be no putting on the next time. If that respect wasn't true, if it was a show, as mine was a show on a few occasions, listen, he will know and he will be better for it. Look, the rematch, right, got a lot harder for Cyril Gane, regardless of if Tom respected him this time. Because now Tom Aspinall is going to know what Cyril Gane can do, and he's felt him before, felt the speed, the athleticism. Because me and John Anik talked about this on the show, Jill. In terms of athletes, Tom's a great athlete at heavyweight, but pure athlete, round ball, football, soccer ball. I'd pick Cyril Gane if we were on a schoolyard somewhere and we were putting together a team, because I know Cyril can do all. I mean, Joe, he's dunking like he is Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan. He's not just jumping up with 2 hands and putting it in the rim. He's like windmilling, he's doing it backwards. I'm like, Cyril Gane's an athlete.
I'll tell you what, I believe the fans got a little bit closer to their dream fight of Jon Jones versus Pereira with this outcome, and the fact that we're going to redo it. Tom and Cyril are off the board and reserved for each other. I think that fight got a little bit closer. And the big loser in this whole thing is poor Volkov. I mean, I thought Volkov beat Cyril when they fought. I know that he lost the decision. I believe the UFC booked Volkov on this very card as kind of a quiet backup position in case they could
win Saturday.
In case they could put him to the main event. Then he gets past Jaden Almeida. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off. Jaden Almeida is a terrible matchup, though, and Volkov wins. I think Volkov was very proud of himself watching the main event, studying his next opponent, and that's just not the case. Now Volkov also is going to have to find a new partner.
Did he win, Chael? Did you think Volkov won that fight? Even though
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, and I watched it. I watched it with ESPN, and I will tell you, we kind of talk about that in the room. You got this whole room of experts. Hey, who won? And it was pretty split down the middle, and none of us were bullish. I thought they were going to give the decision to Almeida.
Yeah,
that is who I thought was going to win the fight. But I didn't really have an argument when they gave it to Volkov. Then they threw up the tail of the tape. They threw up some of the numbers. And Volkov, as far as damage goes, those elbows did do, at least by the numbers, more damage. So I was a little bit surprised, yes, but I don't argue with it.
Hey, real quick, Jon Jones added an eye patch to his duck profile picture.
Yeah.
Is it petty? It is petty, but it's entertaining. It's petty, but it's entertaining, isn't it?
It's great. It's great. Jon Jones doesn't usually get them right.
No.
From a PR perspective, whoever's been advising him lately has a pretty good sense of humor. I must admit that.
Yeah, he generally does not get it right. He usually comes off corny and weird like he is. But yeah, that one was actually pretty funny because all he's had to deal with Tom Aspinall is the positive and people thinking that he would beat him. But John, chill. I don't even know. We might have gotten closer to Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, after Jon watched Tom Aspinall fight Cyril Gane last weekend. Because
you said something very interesting just as the broadcast was going off air, but you talked about the rematch of Tom and Cyril, and you threw out a date of December 6th. And I hope that catches on. That's when I want it as well. If there's no injury, quick turnaround, no weight cutting issue. Daniel, have you heard anything about that?
No, I have not.
All right, because I hope your idea comes to fruition. December 6th, T-Mobile solves a lot of problems, in my opinion.
8 to 9 weeks, get ready. We got the flyweight title. Put the big boys on the top of them or something. They got to fight. December or January is what they need to do, these guys. All right, Chael. Speaking of Jailton Almeida, so thank you so much for that YouTube video with Tom Aspinall. Him and I were talking, and we got like this hot. The mic was on me. And I was talking to Tom about the heavyweight division. You had it right. You had it right, Chael. I was literally trying to tell him, you could possibly be on the verge of something tremendously special right now, right? What I was saying was that in that statement, I was saying, Jailton's going to grapple you, right? It's not as dangerous a fight. And I could have done a better job of saying that to Tom. Now, I was a little upset that Tom and them released that, if I'm being honest with you. I thought when you lean in, Chael, when you lean into someone and you're talking quietly, that's a private conversation that should stay between you and the athlete. I thought it was embedded. And I know that embedded would never do something like that. But regardless of what you're saying, whether you're saying it in jest or you're being honest, like Jailton Almeida deserves respect. And I do respect him. And I felt bad, man, because he's been so nice to me since he got into the UFC. And I think Jailton Almeida is a great guy. I think that he does need to round out his game because the grappling is elite, man, but there's no damage. And even Dana went up there after the fight and was like, I'm so glad that Volkov won because you don't get to just take somebody down and hold them down. You sign up to go fight, Chael, and you have to fight. You really have to just go out there and fight. And I think Jailton's going to watch that last fight and be very upset about that performance and not getting a decision. But it's good to see that the judges are getting it right. It's not going to be just take a guy down and hold him. The takedown doesn't count as much anymore. It's what you do once you get somebody to the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that. And where would you think like a Jayton goes from here or a Volkov? I really feel that those guys, and if we are going to redo Tom and Cyril, it would make sense to have a backup fighter, which is a position that I think Volkov could go in. And I know I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but there's such fallout. It's such a domino effect. When Tom said I can't continue, the reason that was such a domino effect is because we have to rematch them. That's just what history says. Dana went to the post-fight press conference, and he said that, he goes, I never do this, but we have no choice. We have to rematch them, which just meant Volkov, Almeida, they're not getting that opportunity.
Yeah. Almeida's going to be, he's going to have to build his way back, right? He had put together a victory after getting beat by Curtis Blades and was on the verge of a title fight, but I think it speaks to the division, right? The division is not necessarily deep, so a win or two can put you right back in position. I think that, he has the opportunity to do that. He also is not that big. There was always the thought that he could go to 205. Maybe he does that. Volkov is the one that's in a very unique situation because I don't know what's going to happen for him. Chill. In the co-main event, Mackenzie Dern became the world champion. And honestly, I don't know Mackenzie Dern well. I know Mackenzie through fighting. I have watched this young lady from the start of her career, and I have seen her come from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with expectation. When she won that belt, Chael, I spoke to her as a person that's watched the entire journey. And dude, ESPNW did they took the final part of our interview and they put this very soft music where I told Mackenzie she should be proud of herself. It was so good. It was so well done because it felt like I was an elder speaking to her. When I finished, she gave me a hug because it has to be a relief for her to accomplish those goals because, Chael, the weight of expectation crushes so many. And this young lady was able to deal with that and become a world champion. It was a massive night for her.
It was a fight. I mean, she made it a fight. She was getting down and dirty. She's on her back in this guard position, which she grew up second generation.
Yeah.
Her is Wellington Megaton. You know, you hear those stories with like Floyd Mayweather or something, but with a father-daughter, it's a unique situation, and this is the position he trained her in. But when she got to her guard in this fight, Daniel, she starts throwing punches like it's a parking lot. She starts throwing elbows. I mean, when you want to talk about who wants it more, show me how important this is to you. Show me your grit. Dig deep. That was all Mackenzie Dern. And she had one glaring number against her, which is I don't know that anybody's been taken down 9 times and come out of a contest the winner. But she was fighting from those positions, and she was so off. I mean, she just wanted it. She's doing moves that aren't even moves. They're just tough guy stuff where she was biting down and bringing violence and bringing anger to her opponent. I was very happy for her. She has made her private life public. She has shared with us what's going on in a divorce and separation. So then they bring that beautiful daughter in at the end of the night. She puts the belt around her. It was a real feel-good moment. Yeah, and in cage fighting, we don't get a lot of real feel-good moments. Nothing against the opponent, but I must tell you, on a human level, that was something special to see. And if you were trying to break down the X's and O's of what happened, Mackenzie Dern, one of the great technicians of our sport, went and made it a dog fight.
Yeah, she fought. And it was another one of those fights, Shil, where the person that spent the vast majority of the time on their back won. So the judges, now, right, the judges are going, we know how to judge these fights. And if you're going to try to hold someone down, and if you're going to do takedowns to avoid the fight, it's ultimately going to cost you. And we saw that with Vina Jandiroba. Vina was actually wrestling because she had to. Mackenzie was outstriking her again. She was mean. She's tough, man. And that's one of the things I think people get confused because Mackenzie Dern's a pretty girl. Doesn't matter. She will try to take your head off, dude. I spoke to her dad after the fight. I go, your daughter's the world champion. I go, how are you not crying? He goes, when I hugged her in the octagon, he goes, I started to tear up. He goes, I said, you watch your kid become a world champ on so many different occasions. He goes, but nothing ever like this. You know, and you could tell he's a tough guy too because his face is made of leather. I'm like, it's Megaton. This dude he's strong. I didn't realize how short the guy was. When I went up to him, he's like a small dude, but he's tough. It was crazy. Mackenzie then said, I'd like to fight Tatiana Suarez, or I would fight Zhang Weili if she came back down to 115. Chael, to call out Tatiana Suarez is kind of crazy because for so long, people have avoided Tatiana Suarez. Is that because Mackenzie feels she deserves it? Or do you think it's more telling because Tatiana's last couple of performances, one was against Zhang Weili where she got beat pretty bad. And in her last fight, Eric, could you give me who Tatiana fought last? She didn't dominate like we had seen her in fights prior. Why is Mackenzie Dern calling out Tatiana Suarez?
Oh, wait. So a fighter, particularly a champion, has one job, and it's the same job every time, which is to get the easiest opponent for the biggest paycheck. But when you talk to them when they're high in the moment, when they've got that adrenaline and everything comes out of them, I remember every fighter was calling out Georges St. Pierre. Once they cool down, they realize I don't want to be fighting that guy. And I'm only sharing with you, like, I do think in this moment with Mackenzie, this is when she's at her realest. This is when she is calling for the stiffest competition, saying, I want to show and I want to prove it. And that is where Tatiana comes in. Tatiana Suarez is awesome, and she has dominated everybody except for the one fight where she got beat. And I think it's the right matchup, not to mention stylistically, it's a nightmare. Mackenzie, who's a world champion on her back right off of jiu-jitsu, and Tatiana Suarez, who's one of the most accomplished women wrestlers to ever get involved with the sport. I think that's why she called her out. I love that matchup. I don't like the immersion of Weili. I do understand that if Weili was to return to the division, she used to be queen. I get that. But there's some kind of a penance that must be paid when you leave a division. You don't get to come back and be queen of the very group that you were supposed to be leadership of and you walked away from. And I don't know that the rankings actually agree with what I'm saying, but there is something to that. And I don't think that they should just say Weili's next for Mackenzie Dern should she return. Weili left the division. If she wants to start over like everybody else, get in line.
Chill. I'm going to tell you this right now. You could, if Weili loses and decides she wants to go back to 115, Chill, you could push her in a wheelchair. She get in the title fight. She can crawl back to that weight class. She get in the title fight. She want to do push-ups back to the weight class she's doing. If she wants to moonwalk, if she wants to moonwalk like Michael Jackson, she's going to walk right into a title shot.
You made your point.
That is just what's happening. I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, I don't think he should. But man, after what she had did, she's getting the title fight. But for that division, though, they would hope that Zhang Weili wins in November because it starts the whole division fresh. We have a new champion for the first time in a very long time. And if I'm being completely honest, it was hard to see any of these women truly challenging Zhang Weili at the level that she was fighting right now. Because Vina Jandiroba was essentially the number one contender. If she showed up as she did last weekend to fight Zhang Weili, I would have imagined she would have probably gotten finished because Zhang Weili is just that good. So it's great for Mackenzie. It was a great story. It's always great when someone accomplishes their goals and you're in there, right? Like people always say to us, Chill, hey man, you don't like retirement. Does it suck? I'm like, dude, we're lucky. We're still a part of the show. We are actually still a part of the show. Chill, you go walk into an arena, chill. DC, we still get all that. Like there is no missing it in retirement. While you miss the competition, you're part of the show. So to be a part of these moments where you can feel the love from Mackenzie and her parents and her child, it was amazing, man. And I'm so happy that I got this as a job. So congrats to Mackenzie Dern on becoming the UFC strawweight champion and accomplishing all of her goals. After the eye poke, Alex Pereira says it's time to make the heavyweight division great again, right? That's an ode to the president. To that, Jon Jones responds, Alex, I'd be down to bring the highest skill level to the White House. I appreciate the respect you showed. Let's dance. Jon Jones is like,
right.
Right, Joe? He said, Jon Jones is like, ooh, I got him. Fish on the line, Chill. You know when you throw it, when you cast, you just hope to catch something. A little fish, but when you catch that big mouth bass, you start celebrating. And Jones probably feels right now he's got that big mouth bass because he seems like he's closer to the Pereira fight, more close than he's ever been.
I agree with that. Jon Jones does not appear to get it. He just doesn't. As successful as he's been in this business, he doesn't really pay attention to it. Look, it's very difficult to book Jon on the White House card. And every fighter is talking about White House, and every fighter is equally annoying. That is a makeshift card. Just for example, we don't know what time it airs. We don't know where tickets are on sale. We don't know what time the doors open. We know nothing about it because the card isn't here yet. And if Jon Jones would like to be part of that, I think it's very obvious that he just needs to do something first. February would be a very realistic date for Jon Jones to start talking about, but to be talking about something that is 3 seasons away, I mean, I just share for you, like, it's really annoying. And if the stipulation was, Jon Jones, I'll fight Alex Pereira, and it's got to be at the White House, Pierre's going to go, well, I'm not interested. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines at 37 years old when I've got a world championship right now, and I can get pay-per-view points 3 times before then. And that seems to be one thing that Jon keeps missing. He adds the White House. Jon, take that out. Just because it's so far away, you could end up on a White House card, but if you're calling out somebody today, nobody except Jon Jones wants to be in this sport without doing the sport. He is the only guy that enjoys not being in the octagon. Everybody else is trying to get paid. Everybody else is trying to get to the next walk and make it to the next town. If they did that fight, by the way, what exactly is Alex telling us? At some point, we got to take a guy at his word.
He wants to fight heavyweight.
I thank you for saying that, because if that is the case, at some point we need to accept that, and we need to take the light heavyweight belt back, and we need to get on with it. I don't know if we're at that point, but Ilia Topuria made it very clear to us, I'm not coming home. Islam Makhachev made it very clear to us, I'm going up to 170. I feel like Alex is doing the same thing, but half of our community is trying to book him at Alberg. Half of our community is excited about him at Jones. We got to listen to him. And if he's telling us I'm no longer a light heavyweight, thank you for your time served. Give us the belt back and let's get on with it.
Yeah, Dana put cold water on that right away, though. On that night, he goes, hey, man, he's got some fights in this division I would like to see him do first. But you're right. He is almost adamant that he is done with this division. He wants big fights. And I think when you start to round out your career, 37, I don't care how good you are. Right? At 37, 38, you got to start to slow down. I can't imagine we would see him be as active as he was before. But if anybody's going to try, it's going to be this guy. But I think that the one problem is if they let him go to heavyweight, it's going to have to be permanently. Because when he goes up, that dude goes up. Remember, he was a middleweight. By the time he walked in the octagon at 205, even though he was telling us, I want to go back to middleweight and challenge for the belt, I was like, man, there's no way this dude is getting back to 185. No way he was getting back to 185. And if he goes to heavyweight and he fights Jon Jones, this potentially could be the greatest heavyweight fight of all time. In terms of build, I don't know that we've ever seen one that would be as important as Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira.
Would you agree with me, though, that if you're putting elements of the fight together and one of the conditions is you wait, you fight absolutely nobody, you wait until almost July of next year, do you agree the way that you know Alex on a personal level, he's not going to go for that?
No, Pereira's not going to do it. He's going to fight before. But that's the thing, though, right? Pereira's got to fight either February or March, and then because he'll want to fight again if he's supposed to fight him in June. The issue is Pereira has a broken foot. But because he has a broken foot, that may be why Jones is saying, let's just do it at the White House. We'll both take some time. You heal. I'll get back ready to go. And then we can do it on the White House lawn, which would be tremendous. It would be an amazing fight. And Jones would probably be a pretty big favorite in that fight against Alex Pereira. So it works. All right, Chael. Hey, man, it was a long travel back. The jet lag's killing me. I was up since 3:30 in the morning this morning, hanging out. I'll see you on Thursday, yeah?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the man, Chael P. For Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. That was Good Guy, Bad Guy. We will catch you guys on Thursday. Peace.